It's Emily Cook-O'Clock and it's time again for Film Focus with Real Vision. Today we're talking Jude Law, Christmas film classics and films in Peel. Good day to you. How are you?
Hello, Ashlea. Fantastic, thanks.
So what's going on in Real Vision's world this week?
Well, this week, if you remember, in week 3, we had Gary Lavin as our special guest.
We did. What a nice guy he was.
He is. He's fantastic. I've been working on his edit, creating a tighter edit for his show Reel, as he's a BBC presenter, and he's hoping to pitch that back in to BBC One or Two and see where we go from there. He might get another series out of it, who knows?
Amazing if he did, eh?
Yeah, amazing. And that will be available on Real Vision's Facebook page and Vimeo shortly.
Very good. A little birdie tells me that there was a super famous person over on the Isle of Man this week. Apparently he was in the courthouse, which you've already done a promotional video for, of course, at Real Vision. But yeah, Jude Law was over. He must have been over filming, surely.
Yes, he's been over starring in a film called Dom Hemingway, who's a larger-than-life character who, after 12 years in prison, is back on the streets, very dangerous, and he's out to get what's owed to him.
Oh, sounds scary. So what have they been doing? What have they been filming on the Isle of Man then?
Well, most of the filming on the island's been done at the Island Studios. The other locations they've used prior to arriving on the Isle of Man, the south of France and London. But the filming on the island has mainly been at the studios, yes.
Very good. And how do we think that the film's going to fare?
Well, I think it's set for pretty big things. Not only has it got an A-list cast, but the film also benefits from an Oscar award-winning producer, Jeremy Thomas, along with partners BBC Films, Pinewood Films and Lionsgate. So it's got quite a good backing there behind it. And also it's the 100th film to be produced through Isle of Man Film on the island.
So it's going to be a memorable one then, perhaps?
Yes, a landmark.
I'm gutted I didn't get to see Jude Law. I'm in the courthouse every Saturday as well. So what else is going on the island film-wise then?
In December there's a pilot short film being shot. So currently it's in pre-production, which I'm involved with working on. And it's bringing together the filmmaking community over here. But there is a shout out I'd like to do, because we are looking for young people who can play the age of 18 to 25 to appear in a nightclub scene. They have to be free on the 9th of December. If they are interested, for them to call Bev Lawley, who was our guest on episode 1 of Film Focus. Her number is 415096.
Okay, so if you're interested in being in a nightclub film, you've got to look the part, I take it. Give
Yes.
Bev a call. Okay, so we were talking earlier about Jude Law starring in a film that will be out on the silver screen in the near future, I hope. But it's always nice to look back, and we have a bit of a Christmas classic on our hands.
Yes, the one to watch links very well with our guest joining us slightly later. It's being shown at Films in Peel on Wednesday the 12th of December. I know we're looking ahead slightly there with it being the 12th of December. It's a true Christmas classic, A Wonderful Life.
I love this film. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. It's not Christmas for me unless I've watched It's a Wonderful Life, and I've never seen it on the big screen, so I might get myself over for that.
You should do. The film's fantastic. A favourite black and white classic by Frank Capra, starring James Stewart as a frustrated businessman, George Bailey, and Donna Reed as his wife, and a gentle angel called Clarence.
It's such a good film, and I hadn't seen it until a few years ago, and I've fallen in love with it. And it's always been one of those films that my mum's told me you must watch it, but because it was black and white, I wasn't really interested. It's got a real nostalgic feel to it, and it really does help you get into the Christmas spirit. So if you're a bit of a bar humbug, I know it's a bit early, but perhaps by the 12th of December, which is when it's on at the Centenary Centre, you'll be needing a little bit of festive spirit sprinkled onto your life, then I would definitely recommend you go and see it, because it is amazing. Whether you've seen it before or if you haven't, get over to Films and Peel.
And whether Ashley's endorsement isn't enough, IMDb rate it 8.7 out of 10 and Rotten Tomatoes rate it 93%, which, I mean, they're some of the highest ratings that we've had with any of our one-to-watches.
Yeah, it's huge. So definitely get across to Films and Peel and see it. Speaking of which, we have our special guest up after this lovely track. We're going to be speaking to Jenny Oliver, finding out more about Films in Peel.
Now, we mentioned her previously on Film Focus, but we're lucky enough to be joined today by Jenny Oliver, co-founder of Films in Peel, a volunteer-run independent cinema initiative in the west of the island. Hello, Jenny. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Emily.
It's nice to see you. So, could you tell us a bit about Films in Peel and how it came to be, really?
Yeah, sure. Well, I actually was looking through one of the local papers and I saw a tiny little ad saying anyone interested in setting up a cinema in Peel, contact Eric. So I contacted Eric and the rest is history, really. That was 4 years ago. And basically Eric had approached the Centenary Centre in Peel to say, that he'd like to set up a film club. And they were happy for him to go ahead. So a group of us got together on the back of Eric's little message in the paper. And now, 4 years later, we've got a core committee, really, of 4 of us, which works very well. It's kind of a well-oiled machine. So, so we we showed our first film 4 years ago on Wednesday. So,
wow.
28th of November 2008.
So that's quite good timing, really, for you to come in and talk to us about it.
Well, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, obviously, any exposure like this is great for us because we're a charity. The Centenary Centre is a charity. We're all volunteers.
So how does it function like that?
Well, we basically, the Centenary Centre have adopted us, so obviously we thank the directors for that, and so we don't actually pay for the hall. It would be very difficult to cover the costs if we did. But what we do make sure is that we cover the costs because obviously we have to pay screening rights. And at the beginning, we were always praying that we would get at least 40 people to make sure we covered the cost of showing the film. And now we get disappointed if we have fewer than 100.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really great as well. What's so good about it is going to cinema conventionally can be quite expensive, but Films in Peel, it's really good value, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and also, you see, I think people like coming because we try and make it a bit of a social event. So, we have the lovely Doreen and Sue, thank you to them, who do the teas and coffees for us. And again, the lovely Linda, who opens the bar whenever possible. So people come before the film, meet their friends, have a chat. And then watch the film, and it's just a really friendly atmosphere. So I think that's why it's been a success, really, because we've also, for example, if there's a theme that we think, maybe we can have a bit of fun around, we try and do that as well.
I remember when I came to see Marilyn, you were dressed up with a blonde wig on at the front. It just adds that sense of community to it.
Yeah.
I think the first time I came to see something at Films in Peel, I was thinking, it's in a community hall, it's going to be isolating as a viewer. It wouldn't feel like the things we associate with going to cinema, that kind of pleasurable experience. I wondered if that would still be there, but in fact you get something very unique at Films in Peel. People are there to watch that film. With that comes the night out, and actually what you get is an amazing sense of community, an amazing connection with the film. People laugh more. Well, obviously, if it's a funny film, people actually applaud at funny bits, or people openly getting more emotional than they would at the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, we really love it when the film gets an applause at the end. It's just great because we feel then, that we're doing a good job. And I mean, some films, obviously it depends which film we're putting on. Some evenings a bit more subdued. If it's a comedy, obviously the recent one that was a great success was the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. We had a full house and there was such a great buzz that evening. Everyone was talking to each other before the film, people laughing, and it makes it all worthwhile, really, when you hear that. And of course people enjoyed the film and applauded at the end, so the choice of films is actually one of the hardest things, really, although I think we've more or less nailed it now, because obviously we kind of know our audience. We've got different audiences, which is why we put on a fairly sort of eclectic mixture. We try to. You obviously can't please everyone all the time. No. So, we do sometimes put on independent movies that are maybe a bit hard-hitting. We've had some crazy documentaries. We tend to avoid the big Hollywood blockbusters. They're on in Douglas. And
what kinds of films have you got coming up in the next month? Because you're nearly at the end of this season, aren't you? It's September to December.
Yeah, that's right. We've only got one more this season, which is the Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life.
That we've made that our one to watch this week.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Well, thank you. That's fantastic. And in true Films in Peel style, we'll be embellishing that with a few festive treats, so mince pies, and we're hoping mulled wine. That depends on the licensee, but mulled wine. But certainly we'll be decorating the room.
All the more reason to go down.
Yeah. And then, of course, we start again on January the 9th. We're just working out the final programme for the next season, but James Bond will definitely be in there. Because, of course, remember, one of the reasons why we wanted to set this up was to provide people on the west of the island who can't necessarily make it to Douglas to see a film on a big screen. We wanted to give them the opportunity, to have a night out at the cinema. So James Bond has been requested by lots of people. So
how do people find out about what's on, and where can they get tickets from for future events?
Well, they can send an email to us at filmsinpeel@manx.net. We can add them to our mailing list. Obviously, we send out regular updates to the mailing list. We've got a Facebook page, Films in Peel. In terms of tickets, we have Celtic Gold in Peel who have tickets to sell. We also have 3 outlets which we'd like to say a big thank you to. One of them is HMV in Douglas, Shakti Man in Ramsey, and Thompson Travel in Port Erin. They don't sell the tickets, but they keep reservation tickets so people can pick those up, and that will guarantee them a seat, and they pay on the door. And we usually have some tickets for sale on the door for most films, and except the really popular ones. But that's the way to get a ticket, yeah. So
I think it's really amazing what you're doing, and I hope it continues to be a success for you. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us this week on Film Focus with Real Vision.
Oh, she was lovely, wasn't she? Thanks very much to Jenny Oliver from Films in Peel. Remember, there is that Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life, on the 12th of December. It's a Wednesday, so you've got no excuse. I know everyone's got their Christmas parties and all that stuff going on at the weekends, but it's middle of the week, so get over to the Sunset City and see It's a Wonderful Life. It's pretty much time for you to go, unfortunately, Miss Emily Cook.
Unfortunately.
But before you do, what would you like to replay this week from our previous Saturday Night Live sessions?
My session track replay this week has to be Panicland with their cover of Temper Trap's Sweet Disposition. If you remember when they were in the studio, they were such good fun, weren't they?
Amazing energy. They are definitely destined for big things, I would say. They're all super talented, and then you put them together and they're just this incredible force. The sad thing about that is, though, they're at the stage in their life where they're off to uni and they're all kind of split up at the moment, but hopefully they'll rejoin at some point and give us another sort of one-off Panicland gig or something of the likes. But their tracks were amazing. Their originals were fantastic, but this was super special, wasn't it? So
It was.
Thanks very much, Emily. We'll see you again next week. But to round off our film focus for this week, we will play you Panicland's cover of Temper Trap's Sweet Disposition.